So launch the game, but have start working on the DLC, and then 3 6 months down the road they can release it right away. So rather than wait a whole year for DLC, you get it right after launch. So I don't mind that. We'll see. God of War is gonna be good either way. All right, I think we're good to go here. All right, how's it going, guys? Today, my name's Nadal.
My name's Jamal.
And welcome to episode 7 of the Film Planet podcast. Today we're going to be running down two different things. We're going to be reviewing the Post and the Commuter, and just kind of give our thoughts and our overall feeling for each of the films or movies, and move forward from there. So I think you want to start off with the Post, right, Jamal?
Yeah, it's the better movie.
It was the better movie for sure. Let's go into. I guess start off with just what was your initial thoughts of the film?
I thought it was great. I thought it was like, usually don't get a great movie in 2018 that early, but
yeah,
I mean, you have Spielberg, Meryl Streep, Tom Hanks. The expectations are high, and it lived up to those expectations for me.
That's true. I was the same way. I think one of the comments I made when I first heard about it, when we were talking about it initially, was this doesn't always feel like a Spielberg film, but he wanted the opportunity to work with these actors. So it's like, because they came at him, they told him who the actors were, and he was like, "I'm down. I would love an opportunity to work with them." Obviously there's probably more to it than that, but that was just my initial
He worked
thought.
with Tom Hanks before, but it was like one of his lesser known movies.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a.
Well, he worked with Tom Hanks to Saving Private Ryan.
That's true.
Which is a classic.
That's true. But yeah, I mean, it was it. I liked I thought it was really good. It was definitely better than The Commuter, but those are two very different films in a way. It was a good story. It was super relevant to today.
Yeah.
It was we don't normally get political in our podcast, but with this review, it kind of can't help it. It was as bad as irrelevant as a film could be to what's going on in the world at this very moment, with our current president and stuff like that. It's who really holds the power. Does the media really have a voice, or are we just listening to what they're being told to say? Stuff like that. So, and the Post was essentially, if you haven't already seen it, it was,
and it's about freedom of press too.
Yeah,
you can't regulate the press. That's for the people.
Yeah, it also kind of delivers a message that the government, yeah, you have freedom of speech, but that doesn't mean that there's consequences to that speech.
Right.
So yeah, you might be able to say whatever you want, but you still may be punished for saying something like that.
For better or for worse.
Exactly. So it was, in that sense, it was delivering a lot of different messages, but they were all along the same line of, if you have the ability to say it, should you say it? And if you do say it, what happens once you've said it?
Right.
So it's overall, it was a really great film that presented those specific ideas to a generation that probably otherwise would never have heard about this story.
What, the Pentagon Papers? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And it just presented a lot of different questions to a younger generation that, like I said, otherwise would never even bother to think about something like that, because they are growing up in a different world where content is accessible to them through Twitter, Facebook, things of that nature. So the written word might not be as strong anymore, because there's a lot more video evidence to things.
Yes.
So, but
but it was showing how the government was trying to cover up Vietnam, how it was an unwinnable war.
Yeah.
And a guy leaked it out, and the news publications got a hold of it, and Nixon didn't like it, but all the previous presidents was a part of it too. It just kind of fell on Nixon, who was a crook in itself, if you know about Watergate. But it kind of fell on him, and it was also about Kay Graham,
yeah,
the owner of the Washington Post. It was actually her father's business, and because of the time, where women supposed to be in the kitchen barefooted, yep, baking cookies, he gave the business to her husband, and her husband killed himself. And from there, she had to run the business as a woman in like the 60s and 70s. So you can imagine what she had to deal with on a daily basis.
She was a woman with a lot of power, but zero respect from the people that she employed.
Right.
even I don't want to say zero respect from Ben, who was basically
Ben Bradley, editor in chief.
But there's a point in the film very early on where they're sitting in a restaurant, and she's kind of trying to give him some advice and constructive, not even criticism, like, this is the way I want to go with my company and my story. And he was kind of like, don't put your finger in my face.
Yeah, basically hold your tongue.
And he's like, don't talk to me. I run this paper. You just pay the checks. And all of that wasn't said, but it was, in a way, that was the message that was being implied. And so while he did respect her, you could tell there was definitely a level of, I'm a man, you're a woman. Even though you sign my paycheck, ultimately my voice is what matters. It's underhanded, but it was smart, that because they easily could have been like, well, Ben will just be the guy who's all about,
freedom and equality.
But in reality, in that time, he most likely was not that man. So it was nice to see that. It's refreshing.
But what I like what Spielberg did, he showed that, like, that's just a custom. It was a custom for that time.
Yeah.
He wasn't like
it didn't linger on it. It just kind of moved on.
But he didn't come off like, you pig, you female pig. It just was.
He cut her off and he said, don't do that again.
Yeah.
And then it was it. It was over. Most films would have just lingered on it for the next 20 minutes. But no, it was a great way. They addressed it in a great way. Throughout the entire film, she absolutely, the acting in it, she killed it. To the point where she was shaking while she was drinking stuff. You could tell that she was.
The actual person, Kay, she was very nervous.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
due to her past, yeah.
Yeah, so she was very shaky, a nervous wreck. But you saw her come into her own. The longer the film went, the more confident she became. And obviously it culminated in the very end of it when she was like, no, go to press with it.
Yeah, she had to make a decision.
She made a decision. Basically was her and Ben wanted it. Everyone else didn't. Other than, of course, the other writers. But
the New York Times got shut down for a while, too.
Exactly, yeah. But the business guys, the people running the business side of things were like, no, let's not. We're going to shoot ourselves doing that. But she, look at today. Washington Post is still around, so she made the right decision.
Persevered.
Yeah. But it was a smart film that addressed a lot of issues while also tackling not smaller issues, but other issues on it. Like it was extremely relevant, not just from a press standpoint, but from a quality standpoint for women and women in power specifically. What kind of voice do they hold? Obviously she was an inspiration, and they got really heavy-handed with it right at the end. Whenever she was walking out, and the press, after the court case, the press was interviewing all of the men.
Yeah, but Spielberg has always been a crowd pleaser type on stuff like that.
Yeah, that's why.
I know what part you're talking about.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying you're saying that as
it. Like, it's not a critique. I'm just saying, like, they got at that very end of it. They are like, okay, this is exactly what we were trying to say. She had the guy, the defendant. She was working for the government. She's like, oh yeah, I'm just don't tell my boss. But I'm really proud of what you did. It's stuff like that.
Yeah, that was kind of.
And then when she was, and then when she was walking down the steps, all the women were staring at her like, almost like, are they going to start a slow clap here in a second?
Right.
But it reminded me of Cool Runnings right at the end when everyone was clapping them on towards the end.
Cool Runnings, that's throwback.
For real. It was a good overall film. It had its happy ending, which Spielberg tends to do almost every single time. Which this story did have a semi-happy ending, it did, because there's other dark sides of it that you didn't see within the characters, but I liked it overall. I know we don't really have a ranking system, but for all the fans out there, out of 10, what would you give it?
I would give it a 9.2 out of 10. You really need to see it. Yeah,
not 9.5 for me. It from beginning to end, it was good. It was relevant. It was told well. It wasn't super heavy-handed. And it explained a situation that is pretty complicated in a very simple manner that everyone could understand, which is rare. And the
acting was great. Not just Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep, but even the supporting cast.
Yeah.
It was like his go-to reporter and the guy who leaked, like they had like an interaction.
They were already friends to begin with.
Yes, and that was excellent in the movie. Even Alison Brie from Glow on Netflix, and she's married to James Franco's brother. Even she played the daughter of Kay, and even she was kind of like a comic relief or support system. They had a couple of emotional scenes that really drove the gravitas of the situation.
In her granddaughter's room, that was like a scene where that's where Catherine probably made the decision. I'm gonna print the papers. I'm done making decisions based off what other men think I should or shouldn't do. And also that decision has solidified her as the boss, Yeah. This is my company. I want to print it. I'm going to print it.
And her daughter pushed her that direction.
Yeah, her daughter told her as much. She's like, yeah, I love Dad, but wasn't told in the story, but we did our own research after, is the dad was abusive and stuff like that. So whenever the daughter was talking to her, she's like, no, Mom, Dad wasn't the greatest person in the world. This is your paper. It always has been, even when it wasn't official. You make the decision. You print those papers. That decision is going to solidify you as the leader. No one can question you after.
Right, and
so it was good overall. I liked it. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Cinematography was great. Even the score was done by John Williams, and you wouldn't recognize it because he is known more for like epic scores, Star Wars, Jurassic Park,
Harry Potter,
Indiana Jones. John Williams did Indiana.
Not all of it.
Harry Potter.
He did some of it. Not all of it. Some of it.
Well, I'm going to have to look into that.
I'm pretty sure he did. Unless I might be mixing the names up.
Nah.
We got the power of the internet real quick. Let's look it up.
But but for the most part, it was a great movie, cinematography, and for a movie that has a lot of conversation and kind of a slow burn, it goes by pretty fast. It flows real well.
Yeah, he did the first 3 Harry Potter films.
First 3 Harry Potter, so he did do okay.
He did the classic one that everyone knows.
So yeah, it flows real well. So
it's beginning to end, great film. If you haven't go see it, we highly recommend it. Put a stamp on it. Go watch it. Go see it with a younger crowd and an older crowd. Because I think that's a good way to go see that film. Is it will you get 2 different ideas and angles and thoughts on that. So I think that's just a good way to go see it. Now, on to the
last thing, and I want to address this. Something that's real important about this movie. We in a society lately, what I took from the movie, other than the equal rights for women, one of the big things I took in the movie, we as people, we like to vilify the press now. Like,
fake news, all that good
stuff. We like to vilify the press. Our president did it. He's not the only one. People always say, oh, you can't listen to the news. But at the end of the day, you can see how it works. These people still have to get sources. They still got to go on some type of credibility. So when you vilify the press, where we're going to get our information from?
Yep.
With no news or no press, I mean, we're setting a dangerous precedent. Because as you see on social media, anybody can say anything and people eat it up because it plays into their agenda.
They have the witch hunt mentality.
And we're not saying not even witch hunt. It just plays into their agenda of what they think. But it don't have to necessarily be a witch hunt.
And I'll use real quick the sexual harassment allegations is the key word in all of them. But you wouldn't think they're allegations the way people come at some of these people who are accused of it. Some of these people, as soon as they're accused, it is a done deal.
Yeah.
That to them, their careers are over because people come at them as if they did do it. And I'm not saying that it didn't or didn't happen, but allegations, that word is used for a reason.
But on the flip side of that, you can also say like it without the news, it protects douchebags. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true.
So it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Basically, what we're saying is, whether you don't believe him or don't, look, we know it's propaganda in these news places. For example, Fox News leans towards conservative, more Republican views. MSNBC leans more liberal, Democratic views.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, both of these things, whether you like them or not, they're a necessity.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them can have their junk. Both of them can have their propaganda and filth. But it's better than hearing it from John Doe or Jane Doe down the street who don't really know what they're talking about or have no credible source and say anything like a Alex Jones and become famous. So, yeah. So, like he said, Spielberg did it in an entertaining way. It's not as pretentious as Spotlight. Spotlight was a good movie, but I think it was kind of pretentious. So yeah, go see The Post. It's yeah.
A great film. Second movie, which I think we still enjoyed, was The Commuter.
It was okay,
but it's Liam Neeson. I think everyone just likes Liam Neeson at this point. He's
an action star.
He's become an action star. Which, if you familiar with him at all, like not all his films are action related. He's done a lot more dramatic roles, but recently been pretty much all action films. You know. But The Commuter basically is a man who is putting his son through college. He is low on money. He needs his job in order to make that dream happen for his son. Very beginning, he gets fired from his job. He's in his 70s or 60s or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
60.
Basically, they drove home the fact that the man is too old to go find another job that would be able to pay for a college tuition. And once he gets on a train, and the woman walks up to him and presents him with aspect. Would you do this thing with zero to no information about what's going to happen or how you're supposed to do it, but there's $100,000 in it for you.
Right.
So it drives home the fact of what would you do for the right amount of money under certain extenuating circumstances. Like, I just lost my job, I have no way to support my family, and my son is about to go to college. And my wife just sent the check in the mail to for the first tuition. So it's what were your let's go ahead and start with that background to it. What was your initial thoughts on it?
It was an okay movie. Actually, I liked the beginning, and towards the end, I'm like, all right, y'all going a little too far with it. Because at first it came off almost like a Hitchcock type of suspense type of, and then it turned when it went to full action element.
It kind of
that's kind of when it dropped off.
It dumbed down. Let me take that back. It didn't dumb down. It just it put the story in the background and it was like, look at all this action going on now.
Right.
It definitely put the story in the background and put the action up front. And I don't want to say it was worse for it, but it definitely it brought down I'm like, okay, now I don't really care as much what happens at this point. Because now it's just an action film. There's literally two things that happens. He dies and everything's okay, or he lives and everything's okay. So it's literally one or the other. It was the idea behind it is really, I like the idea behind it is what would an everyday average Joe do if he's put in a specific scenario and his livelihood, everything he's known, his child is on the line. Is he willing to risk a stranger's life for the right amount of money? And by the way, he has no idea. He was just told to find this person. He doesn't know what's going to happen to this person.
And actually, it's the actress who plays Lorraine in the Conjuring movies.
Yeah.
I think her name is Vera Farmiga.
Her last name is Vera.
Yeah, so I don't want to pronounce it wrong, but Vera, Vera. Yeah. So.
But yeah, she plays that weird, creepy role very well, I've noticed.
Well, I wouldn't say creepy,
well, not creepy,
kind of like
mysterious,
straightforward, stern,
mysterious kind of role.
Kind of mysterious.
I'm gonna tell you everything you just need to know, nothing else. No, I like the idea behind it, is because it did remind me of that question that people always ask: is what would you do if you won the lottery? In a sense, this was a lottery. No strings attached to him. He was supposed to find this person. He asked 100 times what's going to happen to this person. She refused to tell him. But I'll give you money in return. You find him. You tell us where he is. We take care of it. You walk away with $100,000. Pretty simple, right? But then it starts kicking in. It's like, is my happiness worth the death or someone else dying? But it was a good story. I mean, the older gentleman that he thought it was that first came on the train. He was actually turned out to be an FBI agent sent to find the same person.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's going to be a spoiler review, guys.
Yeah,
but it wasn't really him. But even then, he had just like, do I really put? She gave him a GPS tracker. Do I really put this GPS tracker on him to find him? And he really fought with it. Eventually, he did do it. And come to find out, he eventually found that person dead in the train by another.
Well, he wasn't older. The guy found in the train.
The FBI guy.
Yeah, he wasn't older.
Well, the reason I say older is because of who he was supposed to find.
Yeah.
But it turns out that she also planted another civilian in there on the train to kill who he finds.
It was almost like Saw.
Yeah, it was
less gore, less gore, and less horror elements, but it was almost like Saw.
More asking you questions about. Yeah, I guess sure. Saw is a good example of what would you do in this kind of situation.
Yeah.
But it was overall good. And then it got, like you said, right towards the end. That last 20 minutes became extremely
standard
obvious.
action flick.
Standard action flick, and then right at the end, you're like, oh yeah. As soon as you saw him back on the screen, you're like, this is the bad guy, or one of the bad guys, I should say. But it was an overall good story from beginning to end. It fell off at the end. That last 20. Well, I'm not because I don't want to call it bad because I don't think it was.
It's not a bad. Yeah, it was generic.
Yeah, but it was overall good though. Like it was just if you're gonna see it at the Dollar Movie, I would suggest go to the Dollar Movie. But if there's something else out, go see that instead. You'll probably be more entertained with that. Liam Neeson, the man actually looks like he can fight. That he carries an action film, which to me personally is one of the harder things to do.
I will say this: some of the editing was kind of like. And then even for a 60-year-old man who he's an ex-cop, so that plays into his fighting.
Yeah.
But it was a couple of scenes where he's trying to get back on the train, and you're like, bruh, you 60, really?
Oh yeah, no, we've definitely been dead.
So yeah, like we said, standard action fare.
It's standard action fare. The very end of it, they try to make it a twist. It's not really a twist because you figure it out as soon as you see the man on the screen again. So I liked it from beginning to end. Like I said, 30 minutes fell off, but I would definitely I would watch it again, like on Redbox or something, with the family.
I'm good with a one and done, but he's right. He's right. It's okay. It's okay.
It'll be on TNT in a year probably. Like I wouldn't.
And you'll enjoy it.
Yeah. No, I liked it overall, but I mean that's it for our today's podcast. We are gonna have a second episode coming up tomorrow. We're gonna go watch Den of Thieves tonight, and then we're gonna be reviewing the film. And then the new Tomb Raider trailer came out, so we're gonna be watching that and discussing our thoughts and the feel of the trailer up to this point, and move forward from there. So tomorrow will be a shorter episode, just like today. I'm gonna try and keep them a little bit more condensed, based off the feedback that we received from everybody, which we more than appreciate. Thank you very much for that. But that was today's podcast. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.